I was just thinking about this really weird thing our minds do. There's this strange truth that
Yeah.
your brain, like, it literally cannot tell the difference between a falling line on a screen and a hungry animal hiding in the bushes.
Yeah, it really is the ultimate mismatch, isn't it? I mean, it is our ancient biology just clashing completely with modern life.
It is wild when you sit with it, and
Yeah.
except for something we all face. So today, we are really unpacking this specific bias. I want us to deeply look at why our minds betray us into this pure panic when we see things drop and, find some real clarity and resilience to fight it.
I love that mission for today because, well, we like to think we are so logical. We look at the numbers, we look at the facts, and we just assume our brains will seamlessly process it all. But the reality of what is happening inside you is totally different.
Right.
We aren't just processing numbers, we're processing these deep survival signals.
Exactly. And let's unpack that because there is this quiet contradiction right at the center of this that I find so deeply fascinating. You would naturally assume that, like, the more you learn, the smarter you are, the safer you are for making big mistakes.
Oh, yeah, you'd think so.
But the patterns we see in real life show the exact opposite. The smarter you are and, the more confident you are in your own brain, the easier it actually becomes to make the crazy mistake of just panicking and running away.
It sounds so backwards, doesn't it?
It makes no sense.
But it makes perfect sense when you realize this is not about a lack of facts.
Right.
Like, if you have a huge degree from a fancy school, you still have the exact same physical threat system as someone who has never read a single book on the topic.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true.
That ancient alarm system is just hijacking your phone screen. When you panic, it is not because you forgot the math. It is because your body is actively fighting your logic.
Which brings us to the foundation of all this, right? Like,
hmm
what is actually happening inside your body before you even make a choice? We are talking about the physical reaction to a red screen.
Yes, the sheer physical nature of it.
Because I was reading something recently that really clicked for me. Watching your savings drop triggers the exact same alarm in your head as watching a real physical threat approach you.
What is so wild about that is how your body reacts. You might be sitting on your couch holding a warm cup of tea, but your body is rapidly preparing for an attack.
Right, like you don't even notice it happening.
Exactly. Your heart rate subtly speeds up, your eyes might open a bit wider to scan for danger, your hands might get a bit damp. But the most dangerous part is the mental shift. The way you think just drastically narrows.
Yeah, because of what is happening with the alarm center in the brain. It basically pulls the fire alarm, and when that goes off, it begins shutting down power to your logical mind.
It literally reroutes the blood flow.
Right. The blood flows away from the part of your brain that handles patience and long-term thinking. So the more frightened you feel, the worse your brain physically becomes at finding clarity.
You are operating with vastly lower thinking power in that exact moment. You lose the ability to see the distant future, and your mind just zooms in on one single desperate thought.
Which is what?
Just, how do I make this horrible feeling stop right now?
Man, it's basically like trying to do long division while being chased by a bear.
Yes, that is perfect.
You just can't do it. Your brain is screaming, run, do not do math right now. Which leads me to this question. If quitting in that moment isn't a logical choice, what is it?
That is the best way to frame it. Panicking and giving up is not a logic choice. It is an emotional escape hatch.
An escape hatch. I like that.
Yeah, because it gives you instant relief from that crushing fear we just talked about. And here's the truly sneaky part. It feels like the right thing to do.
Oh, totally. It feels like taking action.
Right. Pushing that button to quit feels like you are taking control of a bad spiral. It feels like doing something instead of doing nothing. But your body is actively working against your growth simply to buy you a quick moment of comfort.
So, okay, we have a brain that is panicking like it is being hunted. Now we have to look at the specific rules that guide this panic. Because it is not just random fear,
Yeah.
right? There is a very specific math to how we suffer.
Yes, there is a deep psychology to it.
Right, the psychology of loss. The concept of fearing loss explains so much about human habits. It basically proves that losing feels roughly twice as painful as a matching win feels good.
It is a profound imbalance in human perception, and it goes all the way back to pure survival.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you find a bunch of extra food, you feel a nice burst of joy. But if you lose your only meal for the day, the emotional intensity of that loss, the anger, the pure fear, is twice as strong.
Because losing meant you might not survive.
Exactly. We are built to fixate on losses because avoiding loss is how human beings survived the wild. It is so crucial for you sitting there listening to understand that this is a fully shared human trait. It is not a personal flaw.
Yeah, I love that. You aren't weak for feeling sick to your stomach when things go wrong.
No, not at all. You are just human.
And the situation gets even worse when we look at how we interact with the crowd. Herd behavior. We always look to the people around us for safety.
We do. We follow the group.
But I've got to play the other side here for a second. Looking to others absolutely kept us safe in the past. If your whole group suddenly drops everything and runs for the trees, you don't stand there and ask why. You just run.
Right. You survive by running.
So shouldn't following the herd be the safest bet during a modern crisis?
It is such a good question, and it is the exact trap most people fall right into. Yes, in the wild, the herd is usually reacting to a real physical threat.
Like a predator.
Exactly. But modern screens are the one place where the crowd is reacting to the exact same mental fear you are feeling, not to real facts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Things drop, people feel that alarm-driven panic, and they run. That mass panic makes things drop even more, which triggers more panic in this nasty loop.
So following the herd here is just copying fear.
Yes. It means copying mass panic rather than copying true wisdom. It is the exact opposite of a safe choice.
And then you throw this other bias on top of that fire, the habit of giving way more weight to the most recent vivid event.
Oh, short-term focus.
Right, so a sharp daily drop feels completely permanent to your mind, while years of normal recovery just completely vanish from your memory.
Because the recent drop feels urgent and real to your body. A chart from 10 years ago doesn't trigger an emotion, so your brain effortlessly tosses that aside when it feels attacked.
It is just wildly fascinating. So, okay, we've got a firm grasp on the mindset theory now, but let's shift to the real-world patterns. Because using this emotional escape hatch costs people an insane amount of progress over their lives.
It really does. The cost is huge.
There's this massive pattern where people who constantly react to short-term changes, the ones always trying to time their moves, they earn wildly lower results than the people who just leave things alone.
It perfectly shows the danger of needing to take action all the time.
Yeah. And there's this other pattern that is even more striking. If someone misses just the 10 best days over a multi-decade period, it cuts their total progress by almost half.
Half. Just think about that.
Half. Just 10 days out of decades. And the crazy part is, when those best days actually happen.
They don't happen on sunny, easy days.
No. They don't happen when everyone is feeling bold and happy. The patterns show those best days usually cluster right next to the worst days.
Yes, right at the bottom.
So the exact moment your brain is screaming at you to use that escape hatch and run away, you are basically making sure that you will miss the massive bounce that usually follows right after.
Which is exactly what happens when you look at the gap in human habits. Over a 20-year stretch, there is a massive gap between what is possible and what the average person actually gets.
Because of the fear.
Purely because they panic near the bottom and then wait way too long to jump back in when things finally feel safe again.
Okay, my favorite detail in this entire discussion, and this is just beautifully ironic, is this observation about who actually does the best over a 10-year stretch.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
You know who the ultimate winners are. It wasn't the daily experts. It wasn't the people reading the news all day long. It was the people who had literally forgotten they even had an account.
It is brilliant. Forgetting is the ultimate safety tool.
Right.
Because it completely removes the alarm sender from the whole process. You cannot panic and quit something you don't even remember you have.
That is so true. And there is also this strange habit where people hold on to their mistakes. It's like fearing loss, but in reverse.
Oh, yeah. Ego plays a big role there.
Right. People will eagerly drop their winning moves way too early just to lock in that good feeling of a win, but they will stubbornly hold on to their losing choices forever, just hoping they bounce back so they don't have to admit they were wrong.
It is all ego and raw emotion.
Which brings me back to that myth we touched on earlier. If someone has 20 years of experience in their field, shouldn't they eventually grow out of this? Shouldn't they become immune?
You would really hope so, but highly trained people panic just as much as beginners. Because again, it is an ancient physical response, not a gap in facts.
So they aren't just naturally calm.
No. We look at calm experts and assume they just have a special trait for bravery. They don't. Calmness in the face of loss is not a built-in trait. It is a highly trained, fully planned habit.
They just build better systems.
Exactly. They have strict systems in place, so they don't have to rely on willpower when their alarm center is screaming at them to run.
Which flows perfectly into how our specific life moments weaponize these physical reactions. because a sudden drop doesn't hit a 25-year-old the same way it hits someone who is 45.
Age changes the whole perception of the threat.
Right. When you look at the age groups, it is so clear. If you are in your 20s, this is probably the first time your path has truly felt like yours. So when you watch it shrink, it feels like a direct hit on your personal worth.
Yes, the stakes feel fully tied to your identity at that age.
And then as you hit your mid-30s, the pressures begin to pile up. Right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You have career pressure, family needs, trying to build a home. Your mental space is stretched incredibly thin.
So a shaky moment feels like just one more thing in your life spiraling fully out of control. It just becomes completely too much to handle.
But there is a bright side here, especially for anyone past 35. Your brain keeps changing.
Brain changing is real.
Yes. Even if you think you have fixed terrible habits around fear, your brain can still rewire its response. And the patterns show that past age 45, people actually start making their calmest choices.
Why is that?
Largely because the noise of comparing yourself to your peers finally starts to fade away.
Oh, wow. The comparison trap.
Exactly. Social comparison is a massive driver of daily anxiety, so as that fades with age, your clarity naturally improves.
But age isn't the only context we need to look at. We have to look at our daily habits. This is where biology and daily routines just violently crash into each other.
This is my favorite part to explore.
It is so crazy. Everyday habits literally breaking your logical mind. Just chronic lack of sleep. Even one genuinely bad night of rest measurably lowers power in that thinking part of your brain.
And then what do we all do when we are exhausted?
We drink endless coffee.
Hey.
High caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, physically copies and boosts the body signals of pure anxiety. Your heart rate goes up, your shaking increases.
Your body thinks it is in danger.
Yes. So, what does this all mean? It means it is completely silly, but deeply true, that having an extra cup of coffee after a bad night of sleep could literally ruin your progress.
Because it alters your nervous system just enough to push you over the edge into a full panic.
It really highlights how fragile our mindset is on any given Tuesday.
It does, but there is a very practical fix here, and it is remarkably simple. Regular, gentle movement.
So moving around.
Yeah. A simple 20-minute walk measurably drops the primary stress hormone in your body. By just physically going for a walk, you are chemically lowering the emotional storm you feel, making you far less likely to make a fear-based mistake.
That is amazing. So let's ground all this in some daily reality. I want to talk about some real people to see exactly how this psychology plays out and how we can shift into real awareness.
Let's do it.
So let's look at Sarah. She is 31, works in a normal office job. She had this moment where she was sitting up late at night watching a massive drop on her phone screen.
Oh, the late night scrolling.
The worst. She felt that literal chest tightness, that sharp physical threat response. But instead of quitting, she used this trick, the 24-hour rule.
That is a powerful tool.
Right. She forced herself to wait a full day, and instead of clicking buttons on her phone, she just wrote down her original reasons for starting her journey in the first place.
I don't know what happened.
By the next night, the intense physical fear had faded. She held her ground, and she weathered the storm.
Sarah basically short-circuited her alarm system. By putting a 24-hour wedge of time between the trigger and the action, she allowed her logical brain to literally wake back up and take the wheel.
And then we have Michael. He is 44, a teacher. He didn't wait. He panicked during a tough moment, gave up, and pulled all his effort back to zero.
Oh, no.
And then he suffered what people call double punishment.
Yes, the double punishment is brutal.
He got hit by the initial drop, but then he became totally frozen by the fear of starting back up at the wrong time. He was terrified of failing again.
So he just sat there.
Yeah, he sat on the sidelines in pure agony as everything recovered without him. He only fixed it by separating his feelings from a written plan and forcing himself to step back in through tiny, quiet steps.
Michael's story is painful, but it is so deeply common. It shows a vital truth. Giving up doesn't actually solve your fear. It just changes your fear into a new, often much harder problem.
But I have to push back on this 24-hour rule for a second. I can hear you, the listener, thinking this right now. What if things do keep getting worse during those 24 hours? Isn't taking a pause just delaying the pain?
It is a valid fear, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, the reality provides a very clear, calming answer. Short-term drops in one single day rarely, if ever, change the basic long-term truth of why you started in the first place.
Because you are building for the long run.
Exactly. You are aiming for a horizon of years, maybe decades. The 24-hour pause protects you from your own panic far more than it exposes you to real danger.
That makes total sense.
The risk of ruining your progress through a sudden panic choice is way higher than the risk of the whole world ending in 24 hours.
Okay, that really lands. Which brings us to the actual habits. How do we build this structure of calmness?
We need actionable steps.
Right. And Jennifer, a nurse we know, is a great example. She found herself obsessively refreshing her app at work, so she used a physical written plan to break that loop.
Writing it down is huge.
When you look at the tools for beating these biological traps, they really fall into two main buckets, right? Changing our daily space and changing our mind's response.
Exactly. Let's start with the daily space. Jennifer, choosing to check her app less often, tackles this bias of short-term fear.
Checking less helps.
Yes. The more frequently you look at your progress, the more chaos you are exposed to. If you check it every single day, you are going to see a lot of bad days, which triggers a lot of physical pain.
But if you zoom out,
Right. If you check it once a season, you generally see a much smoother upward line. The pain is minimized simply by zooming out.
and another huge shift is limiting the endless news and turning off phone alerts. Breaking news is literally built to boost your feeling of threat.
It feeds on your fear.
It hooks your focus by making you feel like you are in grave danger. Repeated exposure to loud, scary headlines spikes your body's stress even when the actual facts haven't changed at all.
You cannot let a random phone alert dictate the state of your nervous system.
That is so vital. And then we move to the mindset bucket. A major shift in perception is separating your self-worth from your daily numbers.
Yes, you are not your progress chart.
Exactly. Your numbers moving up and down on a Tuesday morning is not a measure of your worth as a human being. It is just math.
Just math.
We also have to understand real time frames. Effort you need to pay off in 15 years operates under completely different rules than effort you need to survive next month.
Mixing the two up is a pure recipe for panic.
I want to jump back to what Sarah did, the journaling. Naming her feelings and writing down her reasons while she was calm. Why does the physical act of writing things down actually help kill the panic?
Oh, this is pure biology. When you feel panic, the alarm center is fully in charge. But when you force yourself to put a raw feeling into actual words, either on paper or by talking to a friend, you force blood flow back into the language and logic centers of your brain.
Oh, wow. So you are physically changing your brain state.
Yes. The act of speaking the fear effectively breaks the alarm's control. Naming the fear strips it of its power.
That is incredible. So you are literally rerouting the blood in your head just by picking up a pen.
It is a superpower.
Another great mindset tool is setting up pre-commitments. Basically, automating your good habits so the progress happens in the background, no matter how you feel that day. It removes the emotional choice entirely.
Automation is key for discipline.
But, I've noticed something really interesting about why people don't actually do this. Perfectionism.
Oh, perfectionism ruins so many good plans.
People avoid making a written plan or setting up these systems because they think it has to be this perfect, unbreakable masterpiece. But perfectionism in planning is really just another flavor of fear, isn't it?
Absolutely. The goal here isn't to draft a flawless, mathematically perfect system. The goal is simply to build a simple wall that stands firmly between your progress and your panic.
Done is better than perfect.
Any reasonable, good enough plan that you actually stick to is wildly better than a perfect plan that you drop the second things get scary.
We have covered so much ground today. To pull all this together, the core truth you need to walk away with is that when things drop, you aren't actually fighting the outside world.
No, you're fighting yourself.
You are fighting ancient evolutionary biology that desperately wants to keep you safe, but is just looking in the completely wrong direction.
That is exactly right. You are fighting the ghost of a predator.
But here is where it gets really interesting, because there is a final twist here that is just deeply profound. We've been talking about numbers and progress this whole time, but, wow.
The exact same alarm path in your brain that gets triggered by a falling chart on your screen, it is triggered by totally normal human losses as well. Yes. The science shows that a sudden argument with a loved one, or staring at an unread message from someone who isn't replying, or feeling ignored by a boss, those daily social threats trigger the identical physical alarm response as watching your life savings crash.
That is wild to think about, just an unread text doing all that.
Our minds aren't specifically built to fear charts and numbers. They are built to fear loss of any kind.
Any kind of a loss.
A loss of connection, a loss of standing, a loss of safety. The phone screen simply happens to be one of the clearest, most direct windows into watching that ancient fear play out in real time.
Which leaves us with a pretty deep thought for you to take away today. We started by exploring how a red line on a screen can hijack your brain and ruin your choices.
Yeah.
But I want you to look at your phone today, or just think about your normal daily routines, and ask yourself this. Where else in your life is your ancient alarm system heavily overreacting to a modern, completely harmless thing? Because once you can spot the tiger that isn't really there, you finally get your mind back.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Geeks Mindset has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same thoughtful way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Geeks Mindset reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Geeks Mindset logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Mindset Support Circle. Your support helps honest mindset awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Geeks Mindset moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.